Building crashed down all the way to the ground. We were in shock, and then the worst part about it, we saw the smoke and the plume of smoke coming.
A shock wave ripping through the building, windows busting out, and then the building coming down.
We were watching.
Craig Bartner of the New York Fire Department.
And the whole time you're hearing thum, 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 thum. So, I think I know an explosion when I hear it, you know. I was real close to Building 7 when it fell down, and running away from that sucked.
This incredible dust flow you're seeing right now, I want you to watch that very carefully. It's the only evidence we have of this massive pyroclastic, pulverized concrete and pyroclastic flow or heat-induced cauliflower-like expansion of the dust that we can see in Building 7, which is direct evidence of explosives.
That's one of the things that I live with all the time, and I don't know, but that didn't sound like just a building falling down to me while I was running away from it. There's a lot of eyewitness testimony down there hearing explosions. I didn't see any reason for that building to fall down the way it did, and a lot of guys should be saying the same thing.
This is why I do not argue with structural engineers about fires and what they can and can't do to steel. 90% of our evidence is not attacking the NIST report or the FEMA report, but showing the evidence of demolition, which is undeniable. Let's look at what fire does, though, to the building. Because the New York Times cited that experts said no building like it, a modern steel-framed high-rise, had ever collapsed due to fire. And fireproofing is intended to protect a building for 2 or 3 hours at the most. And even then, buildings have never collapsed in a fire of any duration that is high-rise steel-frame buildings. Even though, for instance, in these fires, numerous examples of which they burned for well over 3 hours. In this case, Caracas, 17 hours over 26 floors. Did the building collapse? No. Los Angeles, 3.5 hours over 5 floors. Did the building collapse? No. Philadelphia, Meridian Plaza, 18 hours over 8 floors. Did it collapse? No. New York, 50 stories high. It burned for 6 hours. None of these have collapsed. They're all in use today, having been refurbished. And yet, on 9/11, these 2 small fires on one side of Building 7 are responsible for bringing this building down in 6.5 seconds. After burning all afternoon, it came down at 5 in the afternoon. If there again were fires on the other side, we'd expect the building to fall away from us and favor its injury, not come straight down. Again, buildings that collapse follow the path of least resistance, not straight down through themselves. It's completely diametrically opposed to every principle of structural engineering, which is designed to resist the forces of gravity. That structural engineers can identify with. Am I right? Where's my structural engineer? Government documentation. Well, we had 4 reports. American Society of Civil Engineers, FEMA, Silverstein, Weidlinger, and NIST. Throughout each one of these reports, we have the same cast of characters coming and going through them. We're told that they were volunteers, but these volunteers were not volunteers like you go down to the PTA and say, I'll help out. These were highly paid defense contractors who had ongoing contracts with the federal government at $10 million annually. So they had a huge stake in producing a report that favored their client. This is not unbiased. We have the FEMA report with only $600,000 of funding. Up until 2004 or 5, that was the only report we had from the government, and compare that funding to $40 million for the Bill Clinton affair with Monica. So we're not looking at a serious effort to get at the truth here. NIST finally got a 3-year, $20 million project, which we're going to be taking a quick look at, which is an incredibly highly polished effort at concealing the truth. FEMA suggests, however, thank you very much, that the collapse of World Trade Center 7 had a small debris field as the facade was pulled downward, suggesting internal failure and implosion. Demolishing the building so that it collapses straight down into its own footprint requires such skill that only a handful of demolition companies in the world will attempt it. But thank God, fire did it on 9/11 without having to pay the demolition contractors. The specifics of the fires in World Trade Center 7 and how they caused the building to collapse remain unknown. This is after 3 years of study. We don't know what happened. Our best hypothesis, fire, then complete collapse, has only a low probability of occurrence. Further research, investigation, and analysis are needed to resolve this issue. Unfortunately, though, for investigators hoping to resolve the issue, the evidence had been completely destroyed by FEMA before it could be resolved. NIST had no steel from World Trade Center 7 to analyze. The 9/11 Commission, who was sworn to give us the complete, fullest possible account of the events surrounding 9/11, did not even mention the building in one page or one sentence of their 571-page report. Max Cleland, for this and other reasons, resigned from the commission, stating this is a national scandal. This investigation is compromised. Do we have a free fall speed of collapse? Well, here's a second-by-second drop of the building. With each passing second, the building drops faster. This indicates acceleration, which is due to gravity, and no resistance to that acceleration in the columns. You can plot the data on a graph of time over distance drop, and then you can lay a theoretical curve of free fall right over it, and it fits perfectly, indicating the columns were removed, which could only be done by explosives. Do we have expert corroboration? Well, here's the top European controlled demolition expert, Danny Jawenko. It starts from below. They've simply blown away the columns. This is a controlled demolition. A team of experts did this. This is professional work without a doubt. Okay? We have to deal with this. We can't go home and say, well, I'm not an expert in controlled demolition, so I don't really know what happened. This is why we have experts telling us what really happened. And indeed, just like in a court case, you'll have experts on every side of every issue. And you are the jury. You have to decide who's telling the truth and who's lying through their teeth. This is a responsibility of every one of us as citizens. In my opinion, the building, World Trade Center 7, was with great probability professionally demolished, says Hugo Bachmann, professor emeritus and former chairman of the Department of Structural Dynamics and Earthquake Engineering. Is there evidence of squibs in World Trade Center 7? Let's take a closer look in this side-by-side comparison of Building 7 to a known demolition. So we have Building 7 on the left and this known demolition on the right.
Edifici a danni da impatto. In ogni caso non vi sono prove di demolizione controllata e i filmati portati a sostegno di questa tesi sono ingannevoli perché mostrano.
Looks like they both come down in about 6 seconds. Building, look on the left, upper right corner, focusing in on those squibs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are explosions. You have to deal with those explosions. This video is not fixed. Let's watch it again.
In ogni caso non vi sono prove di demolizione controllata.
Before someone argues with you